Alright, so this is the advanced video of the loot bag tutorial. Essentially, what I did was I made it to where you can pick a random number of items in your bag, and each of those items are a random item from your game. Let me show you how I did that. So first off, what you're going to want to do, somewhere on a game object inside of your project, you want to make an event called items, and on that event you want to create a list called items, and you want to add every single one of your items to that list. That can be done anywhere. It can be done on any game object, and the event name can be called anything as long as you remember what it is. And now somewhere on a onStart event in your project, you're going to want to trigger that event so the list gets created and all of those get added to that list. Now I'm not going to show you exactly the proper order of doing things or the way I did it. I'm just going to be showing you what I did and why I did it, just so this is very quickly, because I did the opposite in the first video. So what you're going to want to do is go ahead and go to your bag object, and you can see this looks completely different from how it used to look. Alright, so we're going to start from the top and work our way down. First off, we set a global variable called current bag to itself. Now that is going to be because the user interface that we're using is going to be fully functional with any bag that we throw at it. We do not want a million user interfaces for each bag, so we're just going to use one user interface and a bunch of different bags. Alright, so that's why we need to see which bag we're using, and we're going to send that to the interface. Alright, so going down, if opened in self is false. So if the bag has not been opened yet, then it's going to initiate these following variables. First, it starts off with items, which is the number of items in the bag. So you want to set a local variable called items in self to random in range 1 to any number that you want. And in the case that it picks 1, it is going to set item 1 to a random value. It's found here inside of that list items. If you'll remember, I only have 2 items, sphere and big sphere. That's why I'm going from 0 to 1. And so it will either pick sphere or big sphere in my case, but yours can be, it can either pick X to X, depending on how many items that you have in your game. Now I have it set as equal to or greater than, so that it does this, because if it rolls a 2, it is also going to set item 1. So if it rolls a 2, it's going to do this. If it rolls a 3, then it's going to go 3, 2, 1, and if it rolls a 4, then it's going to be 4, 3, 2, 1. Moving on down, within the same if statement, if the bag hasn't been opened yet, we trigger event send params, and we set opened to true. Moving down, so if else, which is just saying that if opened in self equals true, if the bag has been opened, then we do not want to initiate each variable again, so we're just going to go ahead and skip straight to triggering the event send params in self. Alright, now send params, all that does is it sends the items that you want to use. So if the amount of items was 1, then we're going to trigger event params in canvas like we did in the last video, and we're going to send item number 1, and since there's only 1 item, we're only sending 1 here. If there's 2, we're going to send item 1 and 2. If there's 3, we're going to send 1, 2, and 3. So on and so forth. And on interact stop, still the same, disable loot as game object. Alright, let's go ahead and go down to our canvas, and you can see here on start we want to set our canvas to a global variable, and we want to set the user interface that we're going to use, also known as the bag, to a global variable 2, because we want to be able to access them through prefabs, and if we didn't set them to global variables, they would lose their connections. Moving on to the next event, params, which is what we send the items from in our bag prefab. So if sent in current bag as blocks equals false. What that means is if this is the first time that any variables have been sent to this event through the current bag, and the current bag is the bag that the player interacted with last, is false, then we are going to want to see if item 1 is there, and if it is, we're going to set texture of the raw image on slot 1 to the image 1 of our first item, and so on and so forth. So if If item 2 is defined, then we want to set the texture of the raw image of slot 2 to image 1 of item 2. And you can keep that going for as many slots as you have. And then we're going to say sent is true, because now it is officially not the first time that the variables are being sent, which leads us to this. If it is not the first time that the variables are being sent, and if item 1 is still defined, and if slot 1 opened is true, then we're going to set the texture to nothing, because the player has clicked on the bag, and we know that by going here, and this is called when the player clicks on the slot in the bag to achieve the copy of the item. So we did that last video. So if the player has gotten the item, we're going to set texture to nothing so as to not mislead the player. But if he hasn't, then we're going to set the texture back to the image of item 1 in the current bag. So that goes on for as many slots as you have again. And here I just couldn't figure out a much better way to do this, so I said if item 1 is not defined, then set texture to nothing anyways, and you just do that for as many slots as you have. That's just the easiest way I can do it, or the easiest way I thought of to say that, hey, if there's not an item 2, then just go ahead and set the texture to nothing on the slot 2, because there's no point of having anything there. And then, when that is all said and done, we want to enable the user interface so that the player can see it. Alright, so go here and make sure you have all of your local variables on your canvas and your bag prefab, and make sure that on your button you call that event, and then you'll have this here. Now I hard coded something to where if I press action 1, a bag will appear, and essentially what you'll want to do is when an NPC dies, you'll want to spawn that bag. So as you can see here, this is going to be the first one. We can show our debug info. It has not been opened yet. It has not sent anything, and slot 1, 2, and 3 have not been opened yet because the bag itself hasn't been opened yet. So we can go ahead and interact with the bag. It spawns 2 items, both big spheres, and that is them right there. We can get them out of the bag, look inside of our bag. They are there. Go back to there, and they're gone because they are now in our bag. Let's go ahead and go to this next one, and it rolled 4 items, sphere, 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 and sphere. However, I have not set up the 4th texture icon or the button as to when we click it, it goes in our bag, so it's only going to show the first 3, which is normal. However, you would want to fill them all out. I'm just doing this to show you the video and how to do it. So now we have those in our bag. Let's go back to this 3rd one. You can see here nothing has been sent, everything is false. Click on it, and we have sphere, sphere, big sphere, 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 big sphere. Come here, and now we have sphere, big sphere, sphere. So that's very cool. You saw that they were all random, and even the numbers of items that we have inside of the bag is random. I want to find one with just 1 or maybe 2. There we go, just 1, just to show that the number is in fact random. So that is cool. There's a 2 right there. And I know this was a very fast-paced video, but it's just because it was just showing you a more complex version of the previous video that I done. So hopefully that helped you. You can ask me anything on the site, and just rewatch this video a few times if you don't follow along the first time. Thanks for watching.